Good morning, this is Shelby Law with Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Briefing for Wednesday, May 15th, 2024. Precipitation is shown here for the past 7 days on the left and the percent of normal for the past 30 days on the right. We did have some precip over the past week, especially in the eastern portions of the area, northeast Utah and into western Wyoming. Percent of normal for the past month also shows a couple of areas with above normal, mostly northern Utah, eastern Idaho, and some dry spots out there across much of western and southern Nevada and portions of central Idaho. We have had some snow in the past 72 hours, very light amounts, mostly over western Wyoming and the high Uintas, and then there over the east central Idaho mountains. But for the most part, most of our precip has been in the form of rain in the past week. If we look at our current snowpack information, looks like we're still doing pretty well for the time of year. It's not really saying much because usually we don't have a lot of snow in some of these areas by mid-May. But we'd love to see above normal for anything this time of year. So above normal snowpack for Utah and Nevada, right around average for southern Idaho, and then getting a little bit below average the further north we go there. Okay, let's look at this morning's satellite imagery. We're toying around with some new images here, but right now we're looking at a high pressure building off the west coast, bringing warm temperatures to the Great Basin through the remainder of the work week. We do have a little bit of moisture in place across the eastern portions of the area for maybe some thunderstorms again this afternoon in those areas. Okay, so looking at the forecast again here, we have the high pressure off the coast, warm temperatures along really all of the western U.S., and then we can see a little bit of moisture still in place over eastern, southeastern Utah for some possible thunderstorm activity there. Ventilation rates are high across the area. Pretty light winds with this high pressure off the coast for most of the area, and our mixing heights are still pretty high. Warm temperatures today, highs in the low to mid 80s in our far western zones. A little bit cooler here in the east, highs near in the low 70s in Salt Lake. Again, probability of precip here on the right, just showing a slight chance of some isolated showers and thunderstorms over eastern and southern Utah. Tomorrow we'll see that moisture sort of clear off to the south and east for generally sunny skies everywhere and warming temperatures across the region. Still high pressure in place across the western U.S. Ventilation rates remaining high. Winds are still pretty light for the most part. Tomorrow we do see some winds picking up just a little bit over the central Idaho mountains there, and mixing heights remaining high. Gets even warmer tomorrow with highs near 90 in Reno. Pretty warm for the time of year. Highs in the mid 80s in Boise, a little bit cooler on the east. With highs just in the upper 70s. And probability of precip really drops to 0 on Thursday with sunny skies everywhere. More of the same for Friday. Continue generally dry, warm conditions. There is a little trough kind of skimming the northern Rockies here along the Canadian border. That's what's bringing a little bit of wind to the northern areas. But still pretty warm and dry. Ventilation rates still remaining high. Okay, so transport winds again showing the increased winds over eastern Idaho, western Wyoming, and possibly northeast Utah as that trough skims the northern Rockies there. Mixing heights remaining pretty high. Temperatures coming down across the north under the influence of that trough, but still pretty warm in Utah and Nevada. Probability of precip still remaining pretty low. Most of the precip with that little trough is going to stay to our north. The forecasted clearing index for the next few days is shown here for Utah, and those values are all really high, favorable conditions for prescribed fire. Okay, 3-day precip totals are shown here. Really just looking for some light precip today with the moisture lingering mainly over eastern Utah. As we move into Saturday, another trough looking to skim along the Canadian border. There in the Pacific Northwest. There's a little bit of moisture coming into the flow, generally westerly flow, so still going to stay pretty warm and generally dry. Ventilation rates are pretty high. On Sunday, we'll see that trough making its way a little bit further south and east. Looks like bringing a little bit of front with some moisture in it into Idaho. On Sunday, continued westerly flows. Will be warm, but maybe not quite as warm as we would have seen earlier in the week. Ventilation rates remaining high. And then more of the same on Monday, just continued. Generally a dry pattern with probably above normal temperatures, but again, not quite as warm as what we're seeing later this work week. Ventilation rates coming down just a bit on Monday. And on Tuesday, that trough from the Pacific Northwest looks like it deepens a bit, bringing some stronger winds into the area, some cooler temperatures, and maybe some precip to the north. So dry on Tuesday ahead of that front in Utah. Ventilation rates high ahead of that low. And precipitation accumulations for days 4 and 5. This is Saturday and Sunday. Not showing anything really for the weekend. Should remain pretty dry before that next trough comes in early next week into the north. And the extended forecast for May 22nd through the 28th puts below normal temperatures over the northern tier and across much of the western U.S. And chances for above normal precip over Idaho and northern Utah, but on the drier side elsewhere. This concludes today's briefing. Please check back on Friday for the latest updates.